Hello everyone, I'm John Martinez back here for part 3 of the procedural building tutorial. Here's where we left off last time with kind of our base mesh made that we can instance all of our modules on. Everything's rotated to the proper direction, and we have these sort of placeholders right here that we can kind of see what's going on here, what goes actually where. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be actually building the base meshes that we're going to substitute in here for all this stuff. It's going to be a little cube with a window on it. 2 windows on the corners, of course. And so I will upload this right here as it is to Patreon, so that if you want to start from here or if you want to, have it a little bit cleaned up for when you're starting this tutorial, or if you want to end it here, actually, if you don't want to do this procedurally and you just want to say model it, if you want to model it by hand, then you can do that and just do that instead of doing it all procedurally. So it'll be on Patreon if you want to support me there. And anyways, on to the tutorial. So the first thing we're going to do is kind of just ignore all of this stuff that we've done right here. We're going to be working on just a single cube. So let's go in here, remove that, and add in a cube. And come on here to that. So the way we want to do this is have the windows kind of come out of this side of our cube like that, and we're going to have a window frame and have the bars, that go across windows, kind of like that. It's a horrible drawing, but you get the idea. And we want to be able to procedurally control the width of it, the height of it, the size of the thickness, that is, of the door frame, and the number of these bars that we have right here. So let's kind of start on that. First thing we're going to do, let's just add in another group input so that we can have something to work with, because in the end it will all be coming out of here for this group input. This base cube that we have right here, we're just going to leave it as is and kind of ignore it. And later on, we are going to be needing to change that for when we're doing our materials. It's going to have to be a little bit different so that we can actually have a different material for inside the window and a different material for the outside, bricks and glass. But right now, let's just start working on the actual stuff. First, we're going to add in another cube right here and join that to the first cube. So we'll add that there and add that one there. And if we look at those, obviously nothing has happened. But let's do a transform and move this 0.5 along the x-axis. Go ahead and scale this down to say 0.1, and you can kind of see right here where it is like that. And this will be kind of the outside edge of our window frame. We're going to have our window frame like that, and that's what this cube is going to control, so that we can say extrude it outwards, extrude it out along this way, and then we're going to have another cube on the inside of that we will use to cut away at this original cube right here and hollow it out basically. So the first thing we want to do is actually just add a little bit of control to this. Let's add a combine XYZ, connect this to there, and add in our stuff right here so that now we have all these controls on the outside and we can actually control how big this thing is going to be. Let's go ahead and make it smaller, smaller, and smaller. So right now it's actually not doing the right things, sort of, or I guess it sort of is. Let's go ahead and actually just label these. Name this one to window width. Name this one to window height. And this one to window depth. And let's see if it's actually doing those things. So if we take our window width, you can see it's actually controlling the depth right now. So the x-axis on this combine XYZ, this one right here, this actually needs to be the window depth control. So let's take our window depth and move it over there. Then so now if we control that, it's obviously doing the wrong thing. If we take our window depth, it's moving it in and out. Our window height is controlling the width right now. So let's disconnect that. Our height needs to go there, and our width will go there. And hopefully that does the right thing. Yep. Our width is controlling how wide this square is. Height is making it shorter and taller, and depth is moving it in and out. Good. All right, so that's all set up and good to go. Let's go ahead and add in another cube where we will do a very similar thing. Let's go ahead and actually shrink that down so we don't need it right now. And duplicate that and do a very similar thing here, except what we're going to be doing this time is adding another control for the thickness of the frame, because we want right now for, let's erase that real quick. What we want is for this cube that we have right here to be inside of like that. So it's going to need to be controlled by the window width, because as the window increases like that, we also want this part to get wider as well, but we want it to be wider by a certain less amount than the original cube. So let's do a very similar thing. Let's connect our window width to the y-axis, maybe connect it to the y-axis, the height to the z-axis, and the depth to the x-axis. And now if we do that, it's basically the exact same cube, so I don't need to do that right now. Let's actually duplicate our transform right here, because we have it translated over by 0.5 meter so that it's centered along this line right here. We want it to be centered there for both of them. So let's go ahead and duplicate that, connect that to there. And if we just connect this directly, it's going to be the exact same cube. There's nothing different. And we don't want the depth to be any different. We want it to be the same here to here. We just want it to be minus a certain amount for the height and the width. And that amount we will just determine with another input over here, but we will have to subtract via a math node from the width and the height. So let's see, here's our width. Let's not add anything. Let us in fact subtract. And the amount we will subtract by is going to be a new input here that we will just call frame thickness. And let's go ahead and duplicate this and put it with our window height, which is into the z-axis. It's a bit messy right now, I know, but it is all for a good reason. So if we do that, now our frame thickness is going to make it so that it is exactly the same as the other one, hopefully. Oop, we have to actually connect the frame thickness there. Boom. There we go. So now if we switch, let me make the thickness a little bit there. If we switch between the two, you can see that this second one down here is a little bit smaller than the first one. So we can use a mesh boolean, hook that up in here, and take our, so that's our outer cube right here goes into mesh 1, and then the inner cube goes into mesh 2. And what it'll do is take mesh 1, remove any intersection between the two, and then just output whatever the difference is between the two. So if we look at just that, you can see that now we have a hollow box like this. Hooray! That's exactly what we were wanting for this, and that is all we have to do for our frame right now. It can be controlled, like this, the width, the height, depth. You can make it thicker, not thicker, thinner, whatever, stick out less. And you can control the thickness of the frame. If you put it all the way to 0 or anything less than 0, then it will, disappear like that. And then you can increase it until it is just no longer there anymore. So if we take a look at our join geometry, joining this frame that we have here with the cube that we originally created, you can see that now we actually have some sort of frame on which our window is built. So that's all good. Let's go ahead and take all of this stuff and move it way up there, because we are done with this for now. Actually, we're done with it forever. We don't really need to do anything more with that. Okay. And yeah, this is going to take up a lot of space, what we're going to be doing here. And it will get very complicated for these bars that we are about to make. So let's get onto those. So how are we going to create the bars that we want going, vertically and horizontally. Make them procedural so that we can, again, control it from out here and just say click, you know, I want 3 bars or 2 bars or whatever, both horizontally and vertically. I want to be able to control both of those independently of each other. The thickness of them is going to be procedurally controlled by this frame thickness. You could set it up differently, you know, so that you have another slider for the thickness of the bars. I just did it inside here. Anyways, you don't need to hear that. So how are we going to do it? We are going to create a grid with resolution of 1 in the opposite of whatever direction we need it to be, and then just instance these bars on top of that. So if we erase all that and just imagine for a second, imagine a line going from here to here. It's a grid with resolution, a vertical resolution of just 1. So we just have 1 line here. And then there are points here, 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 and there. And on top of each of these points, we are going to instance each of our little bars on top of those, like that, whatever. You get the point. Let's just do it. I'll stop talking and we'll get into that. So go ahead and add in a grid, set the X vertices to 1, and we will add in our resolution here so that we can control how many of these points that we'll have along here. You can't really see it. There's no way to see it. You can see the number of points that we have here. And if we take our vertices and, you know, increase it here, you'll be able to see the number that increasing right there. So let's go ahead and just set it to 3 like that. And we want to translate it over so that it can be at the same level as the rest of the stuff that we're making, you know, centered on 0.5. Just duplicate that, bring it in there. Now it is centered on 0.5 so that when we have it with the rest of it, it will be right here. Okay, so we have that, but we want to be able to control it with the window width as well, because that will control, you know, how far apart they are. It'll control the spacing of all the points that we have, because right now, if we change our window width, the width of our line isn't changing as well. So we're going to do that by controlling the Y size, because we're, you know, looking at the Y direction right here. We're going to control the size along the Y axis with our window width, and we're going to have to modify it a little bit to actually get it inside of our line. So let's go ahead and add in a math node, bring in our window width right here to the first one. Let's go and actually just set this to subtract, because what we want to do is subtract the frame thickness a little bit, because right now it's going to be, actually let's just go ahead and join geometry. Let's duplicate that, bring it there, and bring this one in here as well. So if we just go ahead and connect our window width directly to here, you can't really see it, but it is going from the outside right here to the outside right there. And obviously those are not in the right spot, but I hope you get the point. So we want to subtract our frame thickness so that it can actually move these to the center. Let's take our frame thickness, subtract it from the window width, and bring this one in place of that one. And again, you can't really see a change, but it's there, I promise. So we have that. It's approximately the right thickness. Let's go ahead and instance on points, because again, we are going to be instancing our little bars on these points that we had right here on this line. You know, they're points, looks like 3 points. So there's a point right here in the middle and right there. And we want to instance the bars on top of those points. So we have our instance on points, and we will add in another cube, connect this to our instance, and it automatically looks really bad because it's just way too big. Shrink these down and you can kind of see what's going on here. And there, you can actually now kind of see where these cubes are being centered. They're centered right here and there, because again, we subtracted that. If we get rid of that, then it moves them centered on the outside like that. So now that we have that, you can also see that even though our, you know, resolution here, we'll call it our vertical bar resolution, or I guess it's the horizontal resolution here is what we're using. Resolution, again, horizontally for the vertical bars. Even though it's set to 3, once we have these properly sized and everything, you're only going to end up with one bar in the middle here. So what we want to do is make it so that a resolution of 3 actually gives us 3 bars in the window. So we can do that by taking a math node and adding 2. So that it makes it 5, because we're going to actually get rid of the 2 on the ends here, so that we'll be left with just 3. But before we do that, we're going to want to make these the right size so that they are actually controlled by the frame thickness, how wide these bars are going to be, and the window height for how tall they're going to be. We just want them to go from the inside to the inside like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at our cube, this right here that we're instancing on. We're going to combine X, Y, Z so that we can, not RGB, we're going to combine X, Y, Z. I don't know why it defaults to RGB. Connect that there so that we can then access the various pieces here individually. What we want to do is go ahead and actually just take our, let's move these all to 0.1 like that, and find out which of these controls the depth of our cube. It looks like it'll probably be X. Yep. X is controlled, or X controls the depth of them, which we could just hook that up to the window depth like that, and it'll always be equal. For now we'll do that. And then for the Y-axis, that is going to control the width of them like so. And the width we want to be equal to just the frame thickness. I think that's just the easiest way to do it. It's kind of what I did on mine, so that way it's actually 2 times the frame thickness here, as you can see. So let's make that a divide by 2 so that they are half as thick as that, and they will not subtract, divide by 2. So that way they're going to be always equal to the same thickness as around like that. Again, you could do a separate slider for that if you want to. I'm just going to leave it as is. And Z is going to control the height of it. And we're going to do the similar thing to what we did up here for controlling the size of our grid, so that we have it ending on the inside like that. We're going to take the window height. That's not the height. We're going to take the window height, hook it up to Z, and as you can see, it goes from top to bottom. So we're just going to do the same thing as we did above. Take the window height and subtract the frame thickness. And now if you look at this outline here, you can see that it's going from here down to here and no farther. Now, what we want to do is get rid of these 2 on the end here. We want to make it so that way there's nothing there, because right now they're just intersecting, they're halfway split on there, and it just looks really ugly, which we don't want. And we're going to do that by using a selection on our instance right here. We're going to take the index of our points, because remember, each point along, you know, this grid right here, every vertex has its own unique index that you can actually see right here. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50, whatever. Those are actually for the instances themselves, but the grid has the same thing. It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is what we have right now. So let's go ahead and do that and just do a little bit of comparisons. What we want is to get rid of the first one right here, that 0. You know, the index is 0 right there, and whatever this last one is. Because, you know, this first one's always going to be 0 no matter what, but depending on what the resolution is we select, this will have a different number. So we want to be able to actually just have it always work and not have to worry about changing it or anything like that. So let's go ahead and add in a compare node. Take our index and compare that to the resolution that we have there. So we'll take our resolution, bring that in there, and set this to less than or equal. So if our index is less than or equal to the resolution that we've chosen, we want it to output a true. So that means for anything less than, let's see, we have a resolution of 2. So 0, 1, 2 is our index. So anything less than or equal to this one right here, so it'll output a true. So it'll output a true here, 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 and output a false on this one right there. And then we also want to compare the index to 0. So if the index is not equal to 0, with an epsilon of 0 because we can, then output a true as well. So it'll output a true here and here and here, but it'll output a false right there. So now between the two of these, we have a false on this one for this compare right here, and a false on this one for this compare right here. And this will always work no matter how many of these we have. So what we can do is take a Boolean math that is, Boolean math, set it to and compare those. So that means what it'll do is anywhere that there's a true on both of these inputs, that is on these middle two ones right here, it's true for both of these, it'll output a true. And anywhere that there is any false at all, so there's a false here and a true, it'll go ahead and just output a false. It's like, just take only if everything agrees that it's true, basically. We'll take that and plug that into our selection, and it will get rid of all those that are not in the center. And this works for any resolution that you have, like that. All right, so that is our vertical frames, but as you can see, it's not quite evenly spaced around here. If we have like a really high number, it's really close there and really far apart there. And that is because our subtract here is doing a little bit too much. It's overcompensating a little bit for that. You know, if we go between muting and unmuting, it's not right, either one. And the reason is because it's subtracting the full frame thickness, but what we actually want to do is subtract half of our frame thickness. So we take divide by 2, and now the spacing is even all the way across the board, no matter how many you have, whatever your resolution is. So we'll just go ahead and leave that on 2, like that. 2 bars going across, and we will work on our horizontal bars next. So we'll just go ahead and leave this on 2, and through the power of editing, I'll just clean this up a little bit. All right, so it ain't pretty, but it's clean enough so that you can see what's going on. Let's go ahead and just duplicate all of these things, bring them down here, because it will be mostly the same. It's just going to be hooking up different things to different places, but the actual node setup should be pretty much exactly the same. Let's take a look at our mesh right here. It's obviously in the right place, but what we want to do this time is rotate it 90 degrees along the x-axis so that it is a vertical line like that, so we can instance our stuff horizontally across there. So for our subtract right here in the first input, we're going to be taking the window height, because again, we want this to be controlled, the spacing along the z-axis. So we'll take that, and for our divide, we are again going to be taking the frame thickness and dividing that by 2 so that we can get it expanded out there a little bit more. And for our add, we are going to create a new input here. Rather than horizontal resolution, we are going to be doing vertical resolution. So let's take this, connect it in there, call this vertical resolution, and go ahead and change this to an integer so that way we can control it integerally. I don't know if that's a word. It's not a word, but I'm calling it that anyways. Okay, so then let's just go on and check our instance on points. Nothing's showing up. Well, the reason for that, even if I disconnect that, you would expect to still be seeing something. Let's just go and disconnect our Boolean, our selection right now, because it's not selecting for the right things. We'll get to that in a second. It'll stay the same. We'll get there in a moment. For now, though, reconnect that, and everything looks a bit wonky because nothing is connected up, obviously. So we'll go ahead and take our X, which is our depth, and just reconnect our depth, our window depth, to that. Here's the input for that. Drag it all the way down here. Let's go ahead and make it a little cleaner. Then for our divide node, we'll do the exact same thing we did before and take our frame thickness, divide by 2 once again. That will give us the size of our window bars right there. And for our subtract, we will be taking the window width and subtracting the frame thickness again, because we want it to be as wide as the window minus the thickness of the frame. So let's take our window width, take that, drag it all the way down here, and subtract our frame thickness. So we'll do that again, like so. But everything is rotated the wrong way here, and that's where it's going to get a little bit different. We're going to switch the two inputs between this divide and this subtract. So we'll take our divide, drag it on down to Z, and reconnect this subtract to the z-axis, and now it's gonna work properly. If we combine this into our join geometry that we have way over here, put that in there, you can see that it actually does work properly. We can change our resolution from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 and so on and so forth. But we have all this right here at the top and bottom, and we also have this weird overlapping stuff right here. So first, we're just gonna address this Boolean right here, reconnect that there. It gets rid of everything because right now everything is false for less than or equal to 0, other than 0, but of course we have that one, whatever. So let's just take our vertical resolution again and hook that up all the way down here. If we do that, then suddenly it all works again. We've gotten rid of the top and bottom ones. It's spaced adequately. And now we're just left with this weird little overlapping thing right here. You know, if you click off on it, it doesn't look bad or anything, but if you select it, or once we actually add materials, this will cause us all sorts of headaches because you have overlapping planes, which do not play well with Blender's material systems. So we're just going to use another mesh Boolean to kind of rectify that issue. Add in a mesh Boolean, and we'll plug this one into the bottom one, into the top one, into the top input here, and connect our bottom one, or the whatever. You get the point. Connect this one there. And it all kind of just disappears and doesn't look very good. Why is that? Well, because instances in input geometry are ignored. And these are all instances right now. So our mesh one right here, it's an instance. And the way we can fix this is by realizing instances. And this will convert any instances that we have coming out of here into actual geometry. So if we take this and replace that, now all of that works. And when I did that, it kind of bumped this down to mesh 2, and therefore it's subtracting it from itself, which is weird. So I delete that connection in case you missed that. So now that works, and we actually have proper geometry with proper intersecting and all that stuff. Nothing's overlapping, and we can control the width like so. It dynamically spaces, height dynamically spaces, the depth dynamically does that. Frame thickness controls everything as one, and you can independently control the number of bars on each one. But what I want to do is control the depth of the interior part, the bars here, separately from the window frame. I want it to kind of just be a ratio of the two. Actually, let's just connect it there just so you can kind of see what everything looks like when we do this. Take our join geometry right here, connect this down to here, and get rid of that. So now you can kind of see what it actually looks like on the actual base itself. Take our window depth, bring it down, and that's kind of vaguely what it looks like. Anyways, like I was saying, I want to control the depth of the interior part separately from this part so that it can either be like, 0 or all the way up out to the same thickness. Obviously, I don't want it to like stick out farther because that would be weird. So I want to be able to attach some sort of limit to this so that it does not stick out farther than the window frame itself. So let's look at how we're actually going to do that. And, all of this is kind of controlled via the window depth right here in the X input of our cubes right here. We get rid of that, and that's what's actually, controlling all that. So we want to add something in the middle here that kind of adds a little extra control for that and limits it as well. The easiest way I found to do that was to actually add a mix RGB, oddly enough. If we add this mix RGB in here, well, then it's doing something a little bit weird. If we take it to there and put in a 0 right there, then as we go between the two, we're looking at the vertical ones here, just so you know. As we go between a factor of 1 and 0, it goes from being completely flush with the surface and therefore not being there at all to being as far out as the as the window depth because it's mixing from a value of black or 0 all the way up to whatever this number is, the window depth. You can treat it like a value number. You know, as you put it up like that, whatever that ends up being, that'll be kind of this extra color. Then we're just mixing between those, between 0 and whatever the window depth number is. Simple enough. So we can actually just take another input, plug it into our factor like that, and rename this one to be divider depth. And if we just drag it back and forth, you see this is actually, it's a slider here as well because we just hooked it directly up there to the factor. So we can just drag it back and forth, and that gives us the control that we want. And since we're actually using the same value for both the horizontal and vertical ones, we can just take this one mix and drag this one over here as well. I just connected it to this little reroute right there, and there we go. Now we can control both of them simultaneously. They're going to be the exact same as each other, and that will put it right there like that. So this is a gigantic mess that I need to clean up for you, but I'll just go ahead and skip over that right now. And if you want to see how I organized all this, just stick around at the end of the video and you'll get to listen to me rant for 10 minutes while I do it. All right, so everything is now cleaned up. So let's integrate that back in with our module selection and replace our module placeholders and actually start putting this together a little bit. And you'll see how we'll do this. So first things first, we're actually going to create some node links right there and scale it with all of this so that they're all flat together. The reason we're doing that is because this entire thing that we have right here, we're going to turn this into one big node group that we can then use in all of the things, because all of our modules, you know, when we actually have the building together like this, all of the modules are going to have windows that are going to be defined by all of these parameters that we have here, and we need to actually incorporate those into each of them. And we'll do a little modification for the corner ones here, and then additional stuff will be added. And I'll show you. I'll just show you the way it is going to be. So we have all of this stuff right here. This is a single module right here with all this, and just the windows on there. And let's create a node group with all of this like that. We want to make sure that we have all of these right here still selected, because that will allow us to actually deselect all that without having to like trace down where all these connections go. So select everything except for the group output and the group input and press Control G to create a group, and it will completely ruin all of the stuff here. I don't know why it does this. Like literally every time it just ruins everything. So this top factor, let's go ahead and move that down to the bottom. Take our this value right here, the second value, move that down to the bottom and switch X and that value. They're lined up. Not super mission critical that you do this. It's just, it kind of looks a little better for me. It makes it make more sense. So now we have one node group that has all of this stuff on there that we want. A single base unit. And we can use this to create different variations within our modules and create the rest of it. But right now we have just one thing, so we can't just, you know, hook it up here on our instance and then hook that up, because now it'll just create a bunch of weird stuff, and I don't know why it does that. Well, first things first, obviously it's not working very well because it's just creating a single lines right there, and that's because that's the only one that's actually an instance. Everything else is geometry. So let's take geometry to instance, just like we had to do before. Do that, and now we have windows that vaguely fit what we're wanting. Corners obviously don't work, but we'll get to that in a moment. So right now we just have the one thing that's for everywhere. We don't have any different selections. And the way we're going to do that is by creating subgroups within this group that will act as our different modules. So again, select all of this stuff. Make sure you're selecting all that. Press Control G, create a new group. Again, I'll just fast forward through this part. So now we have a node group that we can call this, one of our individual modules right here. And things will start getting a little bit confusing with the node groups. We're going to have multiple levels of node groups here, so you should label them so that you actually know what you're doing. So we're going to call this the modules node group. This is going to be the one that we're going to use hooked up to the instance, and it will contain all of the modules that we need. Like this whole setup right here, this is what all that's going to be contained in. It's going to be contained in this node group. So let's hop into this node group, and now we have a single module right here. And this is where it's important to actually hook up all the stuff in the proper order. So, we're going to create duplicates of this node group. And within each of these duplicates, we're going to have all of this fun stuff. Just to clean it up a little bit more, we're going to create, another node group. So once more, highlight all this stuff. This time though, do not highlight the cube, join geometry, and geometry to instance. We're just going to highlight this stuff because all of this right here, this is our window group right here. All this stuff together collectively creates our windows. So select all of these, again, including this right here, the little extra things, in case we ever have to disconnect and reconnect all that stuff. Press Control G one more time and create a final node group that let's then hop out and title this one Window Base. So now between all of these things that we have here, we can call this one, let's just say wall. So let's just walk through all of this stuff again. So here we are in the main thing with all of the stuff we have out here. I don't know why I keep saying stuff. I do. It's not a Lisp or anything. I just say stuff. We have all of the main stuff out here with a modules node group. We go into the modules node group, and right now we only have one module, but we're going to have, I'll just go ahead and create another one that we can then call, floor. I don't know what the proper order is here. Hook all these up here like that. Nothing changes because they're duplicates right now. So yeah, modules, then we have all of our modules here. And then if you go into a module, you'll have the little cube that it's based on, and then the window base. There we go. That was a very long-winded way of saying that. And the window base, that's as far as we go. We're not going to go any farther down than that. Let's go ahead and get this in the right order. All right, so that's in the right order. Let's go back on out and figure out what the order of things is. So let's hook up our placeholders back in here and figure out how this is actually working. So the cube right here, let's figure out which one this one is right here. This top level cube is going to be just the plain floor, the floor modules. And this next cube is going to be our roof pieces, which that will actually just stay a cube for now. We're not going to use the windows because obviously there are no windows on that one. Then the cones are the roof edges. The icospheres are the walls. So if I can remember that, let's just head over here and connect things up in the proper order. So floor came first, then after the floor, it was the roof. So let's just create a cube in here, a 1x1 cube. Hook that up next after that. Let's rename this one to roof because again, it's right now we're just gonna leave it as a cube. There will be a little node group on top of it later. For now, we'll leave it there. Then after the cube, it was the walls, I believe. This is where working with lots of node groups becomes a little bit difficult because you have to figure these things out. So let's see, floor, and no, it's the roof edge comes next. So roof edge, then the walls. Head back out, jump in, walls one, roof edge, and Control Shift D to meet, not that one, select the roof edge, Control-Shift-D to duplicate it, then make a new instance of that. Call this one walls. All right, so let's go ahead and just connect our modules back in place and start working on corners. Don't forget you need to put geometry to instance for anything that's not in your node group. Remember, we put a geometry to instance here inside the node group, but you also have to do it for the just primitive shapes that we have on the outside here. Anyways, we have all of the stuff here. I've pre-labeled it. It's going to be floor, roof, roof edge, walls, and then just duplicate all that stuff again, and then floor corner, create a single user copy right there. Call this roof edge corner, and then walls corner for this one as well. And the change that we need to make for the corner pieces right here, so we have windows on both sides. Let's go into the floor corner and I'll show you how to do that. Looks like I've already done it. You need a transform node here. Connect your geometry from your window base. This is why we had it in a node group. So it's easier to work with just this one thing right here. Hook it up to your transform, hook that up to the join geometry, and then rotate it 90 degrees negatively along the z-axis. And suddenly you have a window on both sides right there. Because again, what it's just doing is it's taking our original geometry, kind of duplicating it, and then we're just rotating it 90 degrees so that it's on this side as well. A simple and somewhat elegant solution right there. And then we're going to duplicate this thing for all of the corner pieces. So let's go into roof edge corner, create a transform, hook that up there and hook that one to there, rotate -90, and now we have on the roof edge as well. And finally on the walls corner, create a transform, hook there, and -90 degrees. So now we have windows on every side of our building, on every little corner unit that we have. Completely procedural. You can make it as deep or not deep as you want, thickness, all that fun stuff. Create the number of dividers that you want in here, and so on and so forth. Probably need to, for this one, need to mess with the minimum and maximum values here. For some reason, I don't know why, it set the minimum number to 2. Minimum number should be 0. And minimum, it just arbitrarily chooses random numbers here. That'll be a thing that I'll probably do at some point. Go through and set minimum, maximum, and default numbers for all of these things here. So now I can go down to 0 if I want, go down to 0 here if I want. Right now I'll just leave them both on 1. And there we go. That's how you create your windows. And we've created our modules for the windows. Next part, I will be doing the I'll either do the door or the overhang thing that I have up here. You know, I'm going to have a little procedural overhang that you can control up top. A little extra stuff there. And then I'm also going to be adding a door that will just have similar controls like what we had for the window, except it'll be a single door that you can kind of change the location of on the building. And that'll go in one of our modules as well. Anyways, that is probably the end of the video. Unless I can, yeah, I think that's good for now. And in a future part of the tutorial, I will be going over how to actually, you know, when I do the materials, I'll be going over how to actually change these instead of just having a cube for our modules here like that. It'll actually be a cube that starts out about this big, and then we kind of extrude it out to fit the rest of it. So that way we can actually have a separate material for the inside, and then for this outside portion here for bricks and glass. Anyways, that is the end of this video. The node groups only get crazier from here. Now, I think this is about as crazy as the node groups get. Let's see, we have 1, 2, 3 levels of node groups, all hiding various little things here and there. Well, one more thing before you leave, if you haven't left already, I have a Patreon. Don't forget that. If you want to support, please feel free to do so. I would love to have your support. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Don't forget to save. All right, so if you're still watching, that means you're here to watch me clean this thing up a little bit because it is a gigantic mess. And I'm gonna kind of get it ready for the part that came after this where you saw it before. I don't know how to phrase that. But we're here again just to kind of make everything look nice and tidy. So I am recording this significantly after the previous two videos. Actually, after the first video is released, before the second one is released. So it's actually a Monday right now. It is currently Monday, and I am just recording all this stuff right now. But I've seen the metrics of how the first video performs. So I'm actually aware that a not insignificant number of you are watching these for some reason. I don't know. I probably wouldn't watch this, honestly. Like if it were me, probably would not be watching this. Because I like to just actually do the work. I don't care so much about this part of it, because this is, at least for me, it's a pleasurable experience, kind of cathartic, you know? To actually just kind of do this, it's pretty relaxing for me because I'm a big fan of things being neat and orderly. But, you know how it is, apparently. I don't know what I want to talk about today. I mean, if you're watching this far, thank you. And, you might have already watched the other part this far as well. And I do appreciate that. And as much as I am surprised about it, I mean, nobody commented on the previous one saying, like I said, if you comment that you watched it, then I give you like a prize or whatever. Nobody did that, so I guess nobody watched that part, or if you did, you didn't care to comment that far. Or maybe YouTube's metrics were lying to me and nobody actually was watching it. Honestly, I think that's the most probable outcome, or at least like maybe some of you were just like skipping around throughout this section, and as you were skipping around, YouTube just thought like, oh, they must be watching it, because it's showing like, I want to say like 3% retention in this area, like somewhere between 3 and 7%. Which, if you don't know, YouTube has analytics and stuff that it gives to creators like myself. A lot of different things which help me like analyze my video's performance and, compare things. So I can kind of know what y'all want to actually see, since very few of you have been commenting anymore. So I don't really know what y'all are wanting to see. What kind of videos you're wanting, because nobody's telling me. So the metrics that I am given by YouTube are helpful with letting me know what kind of stuff is popular. If you guys aren't going to tell me verbally, then I will let YouTube tell me. What is that? I don't know what that's doing there. Yeah. So YouTube, the metrics tell me like how many people are watching. At least one of the metrics are telling me like how many people are watching at any given point, and So I can actually see, like, 3% of the viewers are still watching during this section of the video. So I guess it is not a complete waste of time. Or maybe y'all are just putting it in the background and you're not actually watching. If that's the case, I am hurt. But if you are watching for some reason, I am appreciative. And I really would like for y'all to give me some ideas here. Because I have a few more ideas. I'm working on a couple of things that I think are pretty cool. But, maybe the rest of you don't agree. And if you don't, that's okay. I am not hurt by that if you don't agree what I think is cool. As long as you keep watching, because I like it when you watch. Because I'm just here to, I'm here to help you, to give you, knowledge, enrich your lives or whatever. So that's why I do it. That's why I do these at all. Because, at this point, I've told you I have a Patreon and everything. As of recording this video, nobody has subscribed to that Patreon, and that's okay. I made it prematurely, and I knew that I did that because it was, I don't know, I just figure if anyone wanted to, then there you go, it's there. But I didn't expect it because, I only have X number of subscribers. It's not a lot. And I don't know what I'm saying. But I'm doing this for fun. I'm in between jobs right now. Film jobs, because, I'm also a boom operator for actual films, like movies and stuff. That's what I do as kind of a day job, if you can even call it that. It's not like it's a regular Monday to Friday or anything like that. So this is what I do in between those jobs. Because, you can go like months without having a single job as a boom op or whatever. And so in between jobs, I do this because I can, because it's just something that's really fun. Like, I get told by my family that I should do this like professionally or something. Like, they're like, why don't you go into VFX professionally? I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm not that good at it. I don't know, maybe you disagree. I don't disagree. I don't think I'm that good. But it's just something that's fun. It's like a hobby, You ought to have hobbies, especially when you don't have a regular job. And this is my hobby. It's what I enjoy doing on the spare time that I have. Where does that go? Let's see. Okay, I see. Okay. I mentioned last time, was it in the last video or the first video, that I have my iPad here with a picture of kind of like the master setup. And I look at it as I'm doing these things so I can kind of follow along to my own setup here that I have. And I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyways, I look at the iPad while I'm doing this stuff, and it's helping me organize it as well, because this is a process that takes a very long time, as you can obviously tell, because it's taken me forever to do this. And I use it kind of as a guide for what I'm doing here. So that's why I'm like sounding very confused every now and then. And I'm also kind of going in like a really random order right here. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's kind of just the way I'm doing it. So this divide right here and this divide, they're both coming from the same thing. You know, they're both coming from the window. Is that coming from the right? Is it the one I'm looking at? Yeah, frame thickness. We're taking the frame thickness, dividing it by 2, and it's going into, no, that's not right. It's this one. It's hard to tell. I can't tell. Yeah, frame thickness. So this divide and that divide, they're both coming from the frame thickness dividing by 2 and then going into the Y and the Z, you know, different ones because they're different, vertical and horizontal. Anyways, it's the same node. You can simplify that by just having one of these. I don't need both of them. I'll take this one and replace it right there and just delete that one. Bring it down here, put it on top of this mix right there. Scale along X. And let's see, what else? Let's go ahead and just hide these. Make it all like so. I'll leave that open like that just because it's the way I did it in my iPad pictures. That's how I've got it laid out. And I'm just trying to get this all organized in something that at one point made some semblance of sense. I should have probably done this before I started working on all the pipes that I had. I can go ahead and scale these on X, flatten them out a little bit. Let's just line this up between the two that we've got there. Let's go ahead and hide those. What am I doing? Hide those, scale along Y, bring them down. Okay, those are lined up roughly where they need to be. Take these two, move them over. Take these two, move them over here. And this subtract should go right there. And the subtract and add really ought to be hidden. Scale, bring these over here. And this divide. Sorry, I thought I was hearing something. Oops. What have I done? Oh, no, that's correct. Okay. So this divide here also is coming from the frame thickness. If we follow it back, frame thickness divide by 2, same as that one. So we can just replace this one as well. Right there, delete that. And that's probably another one up here. Yep, there's another one right there as well. To divide by 2 goes all the way down to our frame thickness. So we will replace that one as well. And that means we can get rid of that. Control X to delete and leave all the connections in there. Okay. Now I have the nodes vaguely where they need to be. Put that down there with those. Those go up there separately. All right, so now I can actually kind of, line them up like I should have been doing from the beginning. So this will go with these 3, scale along X, and these 6 and these 2, scale along X and shift it back over some. Yeah, right here you could use a set position or a transform. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. And yeah, like I said before, you could get rid of these 3, 4 transforms. You can get rid of those 4 transforms, and actually you can't because this one right here is rotated by 90 degrees, so you technically need to keep this one in there. But you could set that to 0, get rid of these 3 right here entirely, and then just put 1 transform over here like that. Just take these, put them right there. I'm going to leave it as is. It's probably more computationally intense, so I probably shouldn't do it, but I'm going to because it's just the way I did it before. All right, then take this column right here and these two right there. Scale along X, scooch it over, and then these and all of these as well. Scooch them over. This one feels like it's taking longer than the previous ones. That's exciting. Okay. Take these, scale Y, scooch them up a bit. Similar thing down here. Up, scoop them up Y. Actually, let's take all of these, scale Y 0. Get these all lined up properly. And then we'll start from the bottom. Yeah, I definitely should have been doing the nodes before I did the pipes. Got some water here to drink because you don't want to get dehydrated. So scooch that up there. Scooch this one right here. And then that one. I just want it relatively flat going across there. Like so. Again, these can just kind of be vaguely centered. And this one we'll just leave like that, flat going across that way, going up to that one. Okay, that one's pretty good. Let's do these, scoot them up. Vaguely flat. Yeah, those all look pretty good. And then we'll do the same thing up here on this one for our vertical bars. So those are scaled properly. Take these and scooch them. Already got that, so I might as well keep it. Scooch it down. That looks pretty good. And, oops, undo. Scale Y, scooch it up. Scooch this one down. Scooch this one up. These two to there, and that one. Put this one level on the top one and going down to the bottom one. And this one we will move so that that's vaguely level. Now, you know what? There you go. Make them flat. And then GY so I can put it back down to where it was. That flat. All right, that's vaguely the right place for all those. And I'm gonna make this one level with this one right here. Little trick that I kind of figured out a while ago. As you know, there's no way to scale these on the, because if I scale it on the, the y-axis like that, it does make it diagonal because those are at different heights because it's scaling based on this top part right here, like that, not scaling based off of the lines or whatever like that. So the way that I have kind of figured out how to get vaguely level lines is to move it up so that it's just kind of at the top of the screen like that. So it's just barely sticking out, and then move the one that you're wanting like that. So it's kind of, I don't know if you can see this, but it's just kind of barely there. And that's a straight line because this is a straight line interface. I don't know if that's what you call it, but that's what I call it. Scooch it over, scoot that over, scoot that up, and these are vaguely correct. I use set position for these. Originally, that's what I used. I'll change them to set position because there's really no need to leave them as transform. Set position is just a smaller node that to work with. Oh, I never know where set position is, whatever. Set position. I'll just replace it. Geometry. Move that, get rid of that one, and set this to 0.5 on X. Duplicate. Delete that one. Oh, great. duplicate, bring this one in here. You know what, whatever. Duplicate, bring it, delete. Now I gotta redo all this. This is why you should get it right the first time. Scale X0. That one, and that one. Scale X0, bring it back over. There you go. Get it right the first time, kids. Then you have to deal with this. Not that it really particularly matters. Nothing really matters at all. Bohemian Rhapsody. Oh man, these are... I'm losing it. I'm losing it, everyone. All right, so those are... I think they're all in the right position. Make sure these are properly scaled. Yep, okay. Yep, they're all vaguely in the right position. Now I can actually start working on the routing and everything to make it look good. Let's fix the ones that I messed up. Little trick there, bring it down until it looks vaguely the same. And again, it's not, this isn't even a perfect way to, I wish there was a way you could like actually scale a reroute to an input so that it's a flat line. I suppose I could be using the, you know, there are different ways to tell Blender to handle these connectors. You could have it do like the curvy lines where it like that, or just straight lines to wherever, which is how I have it set. And then I think there's another way where it like just does right angles by itself to wherever automatically. Could do that, but it's just not as intuitive in my opinion. Maybe you feel differently. All right, so let's see where we want this all centered. So it looks like I have it level for the one that goes into this subtract node from the window height. So I want window height to be level with that. There we go. It's decent. Scooch this one over there. Take these, move them right there. And I guess I do want to move this one down so it's down below, and then I can have these level with this one. Something a little bit like that. Okay. When you have all these crisscrossing diagonal lines, it makes the ones that I know to be level, like they don't look level. It's a weird thing. Gotta love human eyesight and vision and stuff. All right, so the window height we currently have traveling down to this subtract. So I'm going to take this one right here, go down there, create another one. So like I always say, right angles, everyone. And vertical resolution. We'll just make that go across to a certain point, like right there. Collapse it, something like that. And one more point going down there. So now I'll take all these points, scale X to make them 0. Let's flatten the top one out. Something like that. Okay, now we can flatten out this one. I know this is a tedious process. And you know, it's actually a lot more fun when I'm not doing it in a tutorial, because I can kind of just, it's a weird type of creativity that I can have just creating these geometric things here. But it's kind of stressful while I'm doing it while I'm recording for you because, I don't know, it's just feels weird. All right, so this divide, I want that to come out to here's abouts. Let's go on the other side of that. Up here, we'll actually move this up like that. Why? Because that's how I did it in my picture that I'm referencing, the reference file. It's not perfect, but it functions. Okay, create these two new ones, bring it up to here, and one more to bring it up to here. And then we need to go down on this side to there. Let's take them all, scale along X, and start flattening them vertically, or horizontally, I guess. Let's take this one, GY, bring it down, GY. I'm sorry, that was a weird humor. Just occurred to me. Do the same thing here, bring that up. This one is, I guess we do want to move this and this relative to that. So let's make it flat on this side first. Is it flat? It might already be flat. Nope, gotta go down a little bit. This is very nitpicky, I know, but it's just, I can't live with myself otherwise. All right, so that is flat right there as well. I didn't make that one flat before. Okay, and the last one down here. Gotta make this flat to the z-axis. Close enough. It's starting to take shape. Can you tell that it's already a bit more organized than it was before? All right, so let's take this one. I'm just replacing the one that was coming directly from there, so I can just have a single connection for this. Bring that out to here. Level it off with our mix node. Something like that. And then we'll have it split and go to each of the individual ones. So just scale it along X. Level it out. Take this one, bring it way up to wherever it's going. Even I don't know where it's going. Go to X apparently. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Come down here and level this one off. That looks pretty decent. Sound good still? Yeah. Like I said, it all looks weird when you have these crisscrossing diagonal lines. It makes everything look kind of messed up. I don't know where these are coming from, but I know they're going there. Let's see. This one appears to be... This one right here is coming from the window width, right? No, it is not. Where is it coming from? What am I even looking at? Subtract. This will be the bottom input on the subtract. Oh, the bottom input is coming from the frame thickness. Yes, I knew that. Of course. So our frame thickness, we have one line going all the way across here. So let's just add another connection in there. Drag it down and replace it right there. Then we can scale along X and that looks decent. There we go. Flatten it out along the Z right here, or Y, whatever you want to call it. We're in an XY plane, so it's technically the Y axis. Operating between, you know, the, what do you want to call it? 3-dimensional and 2-dimensional things can get a bit tricky to keep track of. Let's scale those Y to flatten those out. flatten it out relative to window width, and then take this one, scale it to x0, so those are level, and then take just this one and move it relative to this one. Like so. All right, so that's pretty good. Get a lot of crisscrossy thingies going on here. Let's go ahead and fix the ones coming into these nodes right here. I don't want that to be way up there. We'll just take it from down here. Get rid of the original one. Okay, and then put it on down like so. Put these, something like that. This one I'll put on the inside, and this one will go on the outside. Maybe. Let's see how that looks. Divider depth, horizontal resolution, vertical frame thickness. It'll come in the right place. Divider depth. And just move that to wherever. So right now I'm taking the frame thickness and rescaling along X to re-straighten that out again. Move that over like that. Oops. Straighten that out. Okay, and then our factor, which is our divider depth. Let's scooch that in. Did I already scale that? Nope. Yeah, I did. Okay. And move that. Turn that into a vaguely right angle. Take this one. And we'll just scooch that over so that it matches the other ones. Oops. Okay. And this one right there. You know, I work on a 4K monitor, so I can see really small details. Like when I'm zoomed out really far, I can still like read things and everything, but I'm capturing this in 1080p. So if you are unable to see what I'm doing, like when I'm zoomed out, I'm sorry for that. It's just a lot faster for me to work this way, and I sometimes forget that I'm only recording in 1080p. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm recording in 4K. I don't actually know. But I'm certainly only releasing it in 1080p because there's not really a whole lot to see in 4K. Okay, let's see. That all looks decent. This one does not look straight like that one, but it is. What am I missing? Zoom out. Let's look at all of that. That all looks pretty decent. Yeah. I think we'll just clean up the stuff in here. Two connections, scale it X0, move that up, and like that, move this one down, scale, and GY. Let's move these over. Take these, move them over that way. GY down. And then we'll do a similar thing down here. Let's actually go ahead and take all of our pink ones, all of our selection ones, and scale those along X so that they are all the same. Move them there. Take the ones along Y. I'm not sure why I said Y. Take the green ones, scale them up, bring them right there. Now we can move it along Y and get it lined up good. Sometimes it does, I don't know why, like I try and click on one, but for some reason it like moves the previous one that I've selected. Don't know why it does that. All right, that all looks pretty good. And one more thing. We'll work on this mesh boolean right here. So go ahead and connect that there. And add in 2 points along here, scale along X, move it up, line that up along the Y-axis, make sure that looks good. And then take just the bottom one, move that down. Till it is right about there. Good enough for me. Have those been scaled? It doesn't look right, but I guess it is. And this one will go scale X. There we go, that looks decent. The reason I did in this order rather than putting this one to 1 and this one into 2 is just because it, I don't know, it looked cleaner to me than the other one did. Move this over there. Move these both up a little bit. And that'll, let's do both these, scale X. And scale this so that it, remove it so that it is flat. Like so, and then just move this one down. Do something like that. All right, so that looks pretty neat and tidy to me. There might, there's probably room for some improvements. For example, this one right here, this subtract right here, I'm going to actually take it from here rather than from over there. So I gotta, again, go through, re-straighten everything. Big hassle, but it's all worth it in the end because it'll look beautiful. All right, that looks pretty good. And I can just kind of move things around a little bit. So let's take everything right here, scooch it into there. Then also select these things, scooch them in a little bit more. Take all of this stuff, scooch it down. And then all of this stuff and scooch it up. You could leave it like this, and I think that'd be a pretty decent thing to do, but just for clarity's sake, we're going to frame them all. Let's go ahead and select all of this stuff right here. And then put the mouse over the frame. Actually, first we need to deselect the frame, shift, and then just click it to deselect it. Put your mouse over the frame, just click G, don't move it, and then click it again, and the frame will automatically go into accept all of that stuff. And while I'm thinking about it, let's get this little thing right here out of the frame. So press Alt-P, it'll clear it out of the frame. Let's see, these are the horizontal bars. So we will F2 and call it horizontal bars. Add in another frame. Similar thing, just put it behind the instance on points. Select all of the points right there that we want. Deselect the frame, G and click. And we'll rename this one vertical bars. One more frame. Select, actually let's take all this, move that over here. Don't know why it's so far away. Oh man, that means let's see, is there any, yeah, no, that's good. That works. All right, so yeah, select all these things, deselect the frame, and G, click, then rename to frame. Ah, it's a frame. I don't know why I thought that was funny. Anyways, that's a pretty decent setup. You could, actually I think I will move this over so that it's more part of all this stuff right here. We'll take these green ones, these integers, move them over so that they're a bit closer to that, and then move this over again just a little bit more. That way there's a little bit of separation. You can kind of follow where everything is going. Yeah, looks pretty good to me. I don't know if there's anything more to do because, like I said before, I'm doing this before I record the last part of the tutorial. So there might be more, there might not be. Back to the tutorial, I guess.